Good day, YouTube. My name is Colin, and you're watching the channel Financial Success. Today, I'm going to discuss the reasons why I believe it is fundamentally going to make more sense to pay off your mortgage than to invest extra money while you have a mortgage. Alright, so let's jump right into this one. Should you pay off your mortgage, or should you just invest that money that you could use to pay off your mortgage? Now, let's start with a common answer that I've heard so many people give that I've heard a few people give that just makes me cringe. And that's part of the reason I had to make this video is I hear people just brush on this subject and they give an answer that just bothers me. It's so inaccurate, and it's misguiding people. And that is, they'll say, well, look at what you think you could make investing. Look at what your interest rate is on your mortgage. If the rate you make investing is, say, 20%, and the amount you make on your mortgage is only 4 or 5%, well, then just invest that extra money. No. Wrong. False. So many reasons why that's not a good answer. Number one, 20% is just not realistic in the stock market. Even people like Warren Buffett are not making 20%. Most people that actively manage mutual funds are making nowhere close to 20%. Actually, there's been a lot of studies that have shown that most people that actively manage mutual funds don't beat the market. And that's a fundamental, that's something that I think any investor needs to fundamentally understand, and that is that it's not easy to beat the market. Most people that do it professionally, that professionally manage mutual funds, when they account for their fees, are not going to beat the market. So be very realistic on what you think you can make in the stock market. Now, personally, I'll do a bit of active, I'll buy into some individual stocks, but I'm realistic of what I think I'm going to make. I don't necessarily think I'm going to make 20%. I might beat the market. I might not beat the market. I think I stand a decent chance at beating the market when I pick my own, because of the research and because of my understanding, and just for several reasons. But I'm realistic, and I don't think I'm going to crush the market. Now, understanding that is the first reason why that's just unrealistic. Secondly, when you look at just the amount you're paying in interest versus the amount you're making in profit in stocks, you got to account for taxes. Even if you hold on to that long term, you're going to pay roughly 10% or more in taxes. So you got to chop that off. And after all that is said and done, you're still the biggest reason why this is a totally bad way to look at it is because you have to account for risk when you're looking at investing. When you make an investment in the stock market, especially when you're picking individual funds, especially if you think you're going to make 20%, which means you're probably investing in high growth funds that are risky, you cannot guarantee any type of percent. It's not a given that you're going to be making money, and you have to account for risk. You have to factor that in. When you pay off your mortgage, even if you're only making 4%, that is look at it as a guaranteed 4% return on investment. There is nowhere out there in any type of investing that I'm aware of, unless there's something crazy, and I've looked at all kinds of crazy investments, ideas, is from stocks to interest-based, buying tax liens and all kinds of things like that. It's just, there's nowhere out there where you're gonna get a solidified, guaranteed 4% return on investment in the way that you can with paying off your mortgage, if you look at it that way. So for that reason, it's gonna make a lot more sense to pay it off. So that gets into the first reason why it's gonna be advantageous, is because it's a guaranteed return on investment. It's extremely safe if you look at it in terms of a 4% return on investment or a 5% return on investment, depending on what your interest rate is. So whatever your interest rate is, that's going to be your guaranteed return on investment. Look at it that way. And when you look at it like that, it looks like a pretty dang good investment. It looks like an investment that is going to be almost impossible to beat. When you look at it in terms of the low, virtually no risk involved. Okay? So it's a steal of a deal if you look at it that way. Next, the reason you pay off your mortgage is to lower your look at it as a business balance sheet. It's an unfunded liability. Okay, it's something you have to come up with that money. So my biggest thing with personal finance is try to get rid of liabilities. Try to weed out any reoccurring monthly expense so that you have money to play around with, so that you have money to invest, so that you're not tied down to anything. What that means is don't have credit card debt, don't owe anything on a car, and don't have a mortgage, fundamentally. And don't finance other toys like boats and jet skis and whatever else you want to get. Don't buy into that stuff. Maybe if you can buy it with cash, okay, but certainly do not try to go out and finance stuff and tie yourself down to any type of debt. I read a book once, and I don't want to miscredit who it's from, but I think it was from a guy with the last name Herman was the author, and he said, "Cash is king, debt is cancer." Okay, so debt is always going to drag you down, and investing while you have debt is always going to be something that in almost all cases is going to be a bad idea. Now, a lot of the people that will tell you, well, pay off your mortgage, don't pay it off if you're going to make more money investing. Ask those people if they're going to buy on margin. And oftentimes the answer is, well, no, that's crazy, that's risky. You're risking more money than you have. Well, yeah, just like you're spending money in the stock market that you owe to your bank for your mortgage. You're going to have to come up with that money to pay them back. So it's similar logic. It just, when we look at it one way, it seems stupid, and you look at another way, it seems smart. No, it's never good to not pay off debt. It's almost always never good to invest rather than pay off debt. Now, when you get rid of unfunded liabilities, when you get rid of recurring expenses, you don't have any credit card debt, and you don't have a lien, or rather, you don't owe any money on your car, and you don't have a mortgage, you don't need like a safety net, okay? You can have an expense occur, and you have so much more money coming in versus money going out the door that you can be a bit more aggressive with your investments. That's another thing that's oftentimes overlooked. If you make, somebody could bring in, somebody could make $10,000 a month and have $9,000 in expenses. They only have $1,000 left over if they want to invest or do anything with. But if you make $3,000 a month and you only have $500 in expenses because all you have to pay for is your utilities and groceries and that type of thing, if you make $3,000 and you only have $1,000 in expenses, and that's including groceries and everything, you got $2,000 a month. You're sitting a lot better than the person making $6,000 a month with $5,000 in expenses. So keeping your expenses low, it's like a business. Unfunded liabilities are going to kill you at the end of the day. Doesn't matter how much you bring in, if you're pushing a lot of that out the door, it's a wash, and it's never going to get you ahead. So that's another thing. I'd much rather see people pay off their mortgage and then have so low expenses that they can be risky and buy stocks without having a mortgage holding them back. Like a big parachute when you're trying to run forward is that mortgage. So once you pay off your mortgage, you're in such a different financial position that a lot of the rules that you have with a mortgage go out the window, like the safety net. Boom. I don't need a safety net because my expenses are so low. I could, if I'm making $5,000 and I only have $500 or $1,000 in expenses, I got $4,000 coming in every month. I mean, cripes, even if I got a $2,000 damage to my car, I can pay that off and I still have money left over. So it's the safety net. It's not really as important to somebody who has so little debt to the money that they have coming in. And that's what paying off your mortgage gets you to a point where you are, where you have so little debt to money coming in. Now, I think a lot of times people look at a mortgage as something that they never think about the day when it's paid off. And a lot of times it's much easier to pay off than you might think. I made another video called How to Pay Off Your Mortgage in 2.5 Years. And I invite you to go ahead. I'll actually put a link to that video because I think it just helps open a lot of people's eyes to how just normal, everyday people that are just middle class income can get their mortgage paid off so quickly. And I'm not talking about living on beans and rice. I'm talking about just understanding certain fundamental ideas in managing money will get you so much closer to financial freedom, so much quicker than you might understand. So please go ahead and take a look at that video too. Now, some of the reasons people say you should not be paying off your mortgage, rather investing that money, is the liquidity aspect, is because you factor in liquidity and you factor in potential for gains. Now, liquidity is something, okay, let's look at it this way. I have an extra $50,000 coming in this year, and I owe $50,000 on my house. I could pay off my loan, and I won't have any extra money because all that money is going into my loan. Otherwise, if I buy $50,000 in stock, might go up, might go down, but if I have an expense, I can sell that stock and I can buy something. So liquidity is how much access you have to spend that cash. Now, if you pay off your house, you won't have liquidity, but you'll be in a position where you don't have an expense, so you won't need as much liquidity, and you can build up your wealth so much quicker because you don't have that expense. So I just don't think that looking at it as you're hurting the liquidity of your money, I just don't think that's beneficial, especially if you have a job and you have money coming in and you can build up money so much quicker without having a mortgage. The other side of that is the loss for potential gains, and that is another thing that I don't think makes it worth holding on to a mortgage, because sure, you could potentially gain more money in the stock market or in real estate or whatever else by not paying off your mortgage. But anything you gain, let's say your mortgage is 4%, say you gain 8%, you have to deduct that 4% because you didn't pay off your mortgage. So you're losing 4% on here, you're gaining 8% here on your investments. Your gain on your investments, look at it as only a 4% gain. Now, if you have a rough year and you only gain 2% on your investments, but you still made minimum payments on your mortgage, so you're still paying 4% on the money that you have on your mortgage, and you made 2% on your investments, you actually lost 2%. Look at it that way, because you had to pay money on money you owe to the bank in order to make 2% of your money. You're paying more to have that money that you're making 2% on than what you're actually making off that money. Another thing you gotta look at, which makes it all the more risky to be investing when you have debt. So, I hope this was enlightening. I hope it was entertaining. If it was, go ahead and leave me a like. Feel free to subscribe. I'm going to try to keep the videos coming. I had to take a little break. Was on vacation for a couple weeks out in Hawaii, so that was a blast. But I'm back on the grind, back making videos. So go ahead, leave a comment, leave a like. Let me know what you think. Other than that, thanks for watching this installment of Financial Success.